Bryson DeChambeau just revealed something that should make every golf fan stop for a second. Not because he said he's done with the game, not because he sounded defeated, and not because this was some throwaway comment meant to make headlines for a day and disappear. No, this felt different. Because when a player like Bryson starts talking about a backup plan, you realize this is no longer just about one golfer, one tour, or one contract. This is about where the game is going next. And the wildest part? His plan isn't a fade away. It isn't to quietly step back. It's something bigger, louder, and honestly more powerful than a lot of people expected. The kind of move that could completely change how fans connect with golf in the future. But before you think you've got it figured out, wait. Because what Bryson is really saying here goes deeper than just business. It says a lot about pressure, control, legacy, and what happens when one of golf's most polarizing stars starts thinking beyond the fairway. And if you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if you enjoy stories that show just how much bigger this sport is than a scoreboard, then subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because moments like this remind us why we care so much in the first place. For years, Bryson DeChambeau has never been just another golfer. He's been a talking point, a debate, a science experiment, a disruptor, and, at times, a lightning rod for the entire sport. Some fans love him. Some never fully bought in. But almost everybody watches. And that matters. Because in modern golf, attention is power. What makes this story so interesting is that Bryson's backup plan doesn't sound like a retreat. It sounds like a pivot, a calculated one, a confident one. Instead of talking like a guy worried about losing his place, he sounds like someone preparing to build a bigger one. He basically opened the door to the idea that if the current road gets shaky, he'd pour even more energy into YouTube, into global content, into reaching fans directly, and into playing events that actually want him. That's not a man thinking small. That's a man thinking beyond old golf boundaries. And here's the part nobody talks about. For a long time, golf's biggest stars needed the system more than the system needed them. They needed the tours, the networks, the gatekeepers, the schedule, the structure. But Bryson may be part of a new generation of player who's proving the balance is changing. Because when you have millions of fans willing to watch you online, follow your personality, and connect with your game outside traditional broadcasts, you're not just a golfer anymore. You're a platform. That's where this gets emotional for golf fans. Because whether you agree with every decision Bryson has made or not, you can feel that this is one of those turning point moments. Golf used to be about waiting for access, waiting for Sunday, waiting for TV windows, waiting for a tour to tell the story. But Bryson's whole backup plan suggests something different. What if the players become the storytellers? What if fans don't just watch golf through official channels, but through the people actually living it? And this is where everything changed. Because once you stop hearing backup plan as last resort, the whole story sounds different. Suddenly it starts sounding like an opportunity. Not just for Bryson, for the game. Think about what Bryson already represents to a lot of fans. He's not just a guy smashing driver. He's the guy testing things, trying things, breaking things, rebuilding things. He's curiosity mixed with confidence. He brings energy to golf that feels modern. Sometimes messy, sometimes controversial, but never boring. And in a sport that is constantly trying to win younger fans, that matters more than some people want to admit. That's why this reveal hits the way it does. Because it exposes a truth about golf right now. The old model still matters. Winning still matters. Majors still matter. Tradition absolutely still matters. But attention matters too. Personality matters. Access matters. And Bryson understands that better than almost anyone in the game. Now let's slow down for a second, because this isn't just about clicks and content. There's something more human underneath it. Imagine being one of the biggest names in golf and looking around at a landscape that keeps shifting under your feet. Different leagues, different loyalties, different futures, noise everywhere, opinions everywhere. And then instead of sounding panicked, you say, basically, fine, I'll build my own lane. That takes belief, real belief. Wait till you hear what happened next in the bigger picture. The more you think about this plan, the more it starts to look less wild and more inevitable. Bryson isn't saying he wants out of golf. He's saying he sees golf differently. He sees a world where he can still compete, still entertain, still inspire, but maybe on terms that aren't entirely decided by somebody else. And honestly, that's why so many fans have warmed to him in recent years. Because beyond the noise, there's something authentic there. Bryson can be intense. He can be stubborn. He can be misunderstood. But he also feels real. When he wins, you feel the release. When he struggles, you feel the frustration. When he talks about inspiring younger fans, it doesn't sound like polished PR. It sounds like a guy who genuinely understands that the next generation isn't always waiting around for a 4-hour telecast. They're on phones. They're on YouTube. They want access. They want personality. They want the game without walls around it. That creates a little tension for traditional golf fans, and maybe even some fear. Because the question becomes, if stars can build direct audiences this big, what happens to the old power structure? What happens to the tours? What happens to the broadcasts? What happens to the idea that golf has to be presented one way, and one way only? But this is the part that makes the story inspiring instead of threatening. Golf has always evolved, even when it pretended not to. Equipment changed. Training changed. Fitness changed. Media changed. Fan culture changed. And now maybe the player-fan relationship is changing too. Bryson isn't standing outside the game trying to tear it down. He's showing what the next version of living inside it could look like. And still, none of this would matter if he couldn't play. That's the key. If Bryson were just a personality, fans would lose interest fast. But he's not. He's a 2-time U.S. Open champion. He's been in the fire. He's been doubted. He's rebuilt his image more than once. He's gone from golf's mad scientist to one of the most watchable figures in the sport. So when he talks about a future that includes both content and competition, people listen because he's earned the right to be taken seriously. Here's the twist, though. His backup plan might actually strengthen his golf legacy, not weaken it. Why? Because it shows he's thinking bigger than trophies alone. He's thinking about impact, about relevance, about how to bring people into the game. And if we're being honest, golf desperately needs figures who can do that without pretending to be somebody they're not. That doesn't mean every fan has to agree with everything he says. That doesn't mean every move will work. And it definitely doesn't mean the road ahead is simple. There will be criticism. There will be skepticism. Some people will say this proves the sport is drifting too far from tradition. Others will say it's exactly what golf needs. That tension is real. But maybe that's why this story sticks with you. Because it's not just about Bryson DeChambeau. It's about a bigger question every golf fan is now forced to ask. What do we actually want the future of golf to feel like? Do we want stars who only show up in controlled windows and speak in polished sound bites? Or do we want players who invite us into the process, the personality, the pressure, and the chaos? Do we want a game protected from change, or strong enough to survive it? And this is where the whole thing becomes strangely hopeful. Because buried inside this so-called wild backup plan is a message that golf is still full of possibility. A player doesn't have to disappear when the landscape changes. He can adapt. He can create. He can reach people in a new way. He can still compete. He can still matter. Maybe even more than before. That's why stories like this matter. Not because they give us a clean answer, but because they reveal where the game's heart is beating. Bryson's backup plan is wild only if you think golf is supposed to stay frozen in time. But if you believe this sport can grow, stretch, and still keep its soul, then maybe this isn't wild at all. Maybe it's the future arriving a little earlier than expected. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Bryson DeChambeau didn't just reveal a backup plan. He revealed how seriously modern golfers are starting to think about control, connection, and legacy. So now I want to ask you, if this path really opens up, would you want to see more of golf built around players like Bryson? Or do you think the game should stay rooted in the old system? Let me know in the comments. And if golf means something to you, stay with this channel, because these are the stories that remind us why being a golf fan is different.